safe, provides critical intelligence to our warfighters, and is subject to a rigorous system of oversight by all three branches of government to guarantee the protection of the constitutional rights of the American people. Thought I'd give you a moment to expound on that, because this is going to be very important, because there's several people who right now in this body are going to be considering their support for 702's reauthorization.
Well, thank you for that opportunity, Congressman. Yes, this department strongly supports the reauthorization of FISA 702. And it is not hyperbole to say many of the most important missions we have executed could not have happened without the intelligence gathered through FISA 702. So we would urge members to support that so we can continue doing the good work of the American people.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I appreciate your comments that Iran must never be permitted to obtain a nuclear weapon. There have been many comments that have been made concerning allies who have not assisted or supported the effort. General Kane, there have been many allies who have been essential for us to be able to execute the functions necessary both for Midnight Hammer and for the current ongoing operation. I'd like to ask you to speak for a moment about the essential aspect of the allies that are supporting the effort. There are bases that are necessary, are forward operating facilities, both our allies in the Middle East, both our NATO allies, those in Europe, throughout. We would not be able to undertake this current operation without the use and support of facilities that we have in our bases throughout NATO, Europe, and the Middle East. If you could, for a moment, expound on the integral nature of our facilities that include those bases that are located within our allies.
Well, Congressman, from a purely military standpoint, allies and alliances are important. They allow us. You did a better job than I could on articulating the importance of access, basing, and overflight considerations. You know, who those allies are and the quality of those alliances are left our civilian leaders, but certainly we appreciate those allies who've helped us and assisted us along the way.
General, you would describe them as having been essential.
Yes, sir.
Because it's very important. I mean, we want to make certain that that we treat adversaries as adversaries and allies like allies, especially those that are essential. The King was here yesterday, and as he was speaking, he received a standing ovation when he implored this body to continue our support for Ukraine. In the 2026 National Defense Strategy, it assesses Russia will remain a persistent, manageable threat. It specifically identifies Russia's continued threat to Ukraine, and we have, of course, currently the presidential continued drawdown authority that can support Ukraine, and also the President Trump announced Pearl, the prioritized Ukraine requirements list, and in the FY 2026 NDAA, there is the $400 million that is included in the European capacity building within the defense security cooperation. General, the last time it went on the House floor with respect to funding for Ukraine, there was a vote in the House of over 300 members of the House that supported Ukraine. Could you please give us a description of some of the things currently that we're doing operationally to support Ukraine?
Congressman, a few of those are probably left for classified session. We continue through our security assistance group Ukraine to assist with some information sharing matters. UCOM continues. But
you would describe it as continuous and ongoing and essential for Ukraine with U.S. support.
So much of the relationship.
Gentleman's time's expired. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Garamendi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary and General Kane, let me begin by thanking the men and women of the United States military for their service and their bravery. I recognize that our service members have performed with extraordinary courage and tactical skill, and they've done incredible things that our country has asked them to. Their professionalism and selfless service are not in question and never have been. What is in question is the purposes and the strategic direction of this war. Mr. Hegseth, as Secretary of the Department of Defense, you are ultimately responsible for the conduct of the Iran war. Any unvarnished review of what is happening right now in the Middle East would reveal a geopolitical calamity, a strategic blunder resulting in worldwide economic crisis. The result of Trump's war of choice is a serious, self-inflicted wound to America. It will take years and a new administration to recover from the grave damage to our standing in the world, as well as our economy and our military. We must remember that 13 Americans have been killed in action, hundreds wounded, and thousands of civilians killed, including more than 100 school children. The risk of this conflict was foreseeable. I'm certain that the Department of Defense knew that it was likely that in a war with Iran, Iran would create an international economic crisis by blocking the Strait of Hormuz and thus stopping 20% of the world's oil. Was this existential threat considered? Apparently not. During the 60 days of Trump's Iran war, critical munitions have been expended at an alarming rate, depleting magazine levels below what is thought necessary to hold China at bay. It will take years and tens of billions of dollars to restock. A significant part of the necessary Navy and Marine force in the Pacific has been removed and sent to support the Iran war. Our support of Ukraine has suffered as supplies and defense systems are diverted to the Iran war. America has lost irreplaceable aircraft, radar systems, and strategic bases have been shown to be vulnerable. The continued lengthy deployment of ships, equipment, and personnel has sacrificed readiness. We know what we have lost, but what have we gained? Let's consider that the regime in Tehran is still intact, with new and more radical leadership, as are Iran's ballistic missile and drone forces, as is Iran's ability to rebuild their military industries. Also, as is Iran's coordination with China, Russia, and North Korea, and Iran's ability to choke off global energy supplies, and their stockpile of highly enriched uranium, which they only built after President Trump shredded President Obama's Iran deal in 2017. Secretary Hegseth, you have been lying to the American public about this war from day one, and so has the President. You have misled the public about why we are at war. You and the President have offered ever-changing reasons for this war. You've misled the public about the progress of the war. While the military has executed this war with tactical success, the strategy has been an astounding incompetence, doing immense economic damage to America.
Mr. Chairman,
and the
Mr.
world.
Chairman, with the personal attack on the Secretary, he should have an opportunity to respond.
He certainly
Thank
will
you.
when
No,
I...
no, no.
No, at the time
When I
you're
am
doing
finished.
it.
It's the gentleman's time. He can use it as he sees fit and add an extra 5 seconds to Mr. Garamendi's time.
Thank you. You and the President are ever-changing reasons for the war. You have misled the public about the progress of the war. While the military has executed this war with tactical success, the strategy has been an outstanding example of incompetence. This war of choice is a political and economic disaster at every level. Despite the President's promise to lower the cost of living, gas prices are up 40%, and inflation is soaring so much for lowering the cost of living. The President has got himself and America stuck in the quagmire of another war in the Middle East. He's desperately trying to extricate himself from his own mistakes. It is in America's, and indeed the world's interest, that he succeed in that. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair, and I recognize the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Whitman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank our witnesses for joining us today. General Kane, Secretary Hegseth, Mr. Hurst, thank you so much. I want to go to a statement I've been making here for the last several years, and that is we are in the most dangerous